So hi everyone, my name is Nikhil. I'm a second year food technology student at University Institute of Chemical Technology, and in this video I'll be talking about what are the artificial sweeteners and their effect on human body. So let's get started. Artificial sweeteners are often the topic of heated debate. On one hand, they are claimed to increase your risk of cancer and harm your blood sugar and gut health. And on the other hand, most health authorities consider them safe, and many people use them to reduce their sugar intake and to lose their weight. This podcast reviews the evidence on artificial sweeteners and their effect on human body. So firstly, we'll understand what are the artificial sweeteners. Artificial sweeteners or sugar substitutes, we also call them sugar substitutes, are chemicals added to some foods and beverages to make them taste sweet. Okay, to increase their sweetness. People often refer to them as intense sweeteners because they provide a taste similar to that of table sugar, but up to several thousand times sweeter than normal sugar. So it is 1000 times sweeter than normal table sugar. Although some sweeteners contain calories, the amount needed to sweeten products is so small that you end up consuming almost no calories. Basically, all the sweeteners that are present there contain no calories, zero calories, but some of them are having calories, but the intensity, they are 1000 times sweeter than the normal sugar. So we add in very small quantities in our food, so basically we ended up consuming no calories in our body. Basically, artificial sweeteners are chemicals used to sweeten foods and beverages, and they provide zero calories. So this is the concept of artificial sweeteners. But how they work in our body, let's understand about that. The surface of our tongue is covered by numerous taste buds, and those taste buds contains thousands or several different types of receptors that detect the different kinds of flavors from the food that we eat. So when we eat something, the taste receptors encounters with that food molecule, that food constituents, and a perfect fit between a receptor and a molecule sends a signal to the brain, allowing us to identify the taste of that food. For example, the sugar molecules fits perfectly into our taste receptor for sweetness, normal sugar molecules, allowing our brain to identify the sweet taste. But in case of the artificial sweeteners, the molecules of artificial sweeteners are also similar to the molecules of sugar. They also fits into that receptor. So again, it is a message is conveyed that the food that you have eaten is sweet in taste. The brain conveys this type of message because of the similar structure or similar sugar molecules. However, they are generally too different from sugar for your body to break them down into the calories. So the digestion of the normal sugar and the artificial sweetener is quite different, so it only differ on that point. So this is how they provide a sweet taste without adding the calories to our body, just because of structural similarity. Only a minority of artificial sweeteners have a structure that your body can break down into calories. Given that only very small or very small amounts of artificial sweeteners are needed to make foods taste sweet, and we consume virtually no calories because of that less quantity. And artificial sweeteners taste sweet because they are recognized by the sweetness receptors on our tongue. They provide virtually zero calories to our body, as our body can't break them down. This is about how artificial sweeteners works in our body, and how they provide us the same taste as normal table sugar. So there are some common examples of artificial sweeteners are like the. So the first is, you can see in the diagram, aspartame, sold under the brand names NutraSweet, Equal or Sugar Twin. Aspartame is 200 times sweeter than table sugar. The next is acesulfame potassium, also known as acesulfame K. It's 200 times sweeter than table sugar, and it is suited for cooking and baking purposes. The next is advantame. This sweetener is 20,000 times sweeter than table sugar, and it is suitable for cooking and various baking purposes. So cyclamate, which is 50 times sweeter than table sugar, was used for cooking and baking. The neotame is sold under the brand name Newtame and this sweetener is 13,000 times sweetener than the table sugar, and it's suitable for cooking and baking purposes. And a neohesperidine is a 340 times sweeter than table sugar, and it is suitable for cooking, baking and mixing with various types of acidic foods. Saccharin is sold under the brand names such as Sweet and Low, Sweet Queen or Nectar Sweet, and saccharin is 700 times sweeter than table sugar. Sucralose is a 600 times sweeter than table sugar, and it is suitable for cooking, baking and mixing with various acidic foods. So there are many types of artificial sweeteners exist in the market, but not all are approved for use in every country. The most common ones include aspartame, sucralose, saccharin, neotame and acesulfame potassium. So these are the basic or most common artificial sweeteners that we used in our foods. So there are some effects of all these artificial sweeteners on our appetite and weight and different kinds of things in our body. So when we talk about to lose the weight, the artificial sweeteners are very popular among the individuals who are trying to lose the weight. So what is the effect of artificial sweeteners on appetite? So firstly, what is meant by appetite? So basically appetite is the desire to eat various different types of food items. Like some people believe that artificial sweeteners might increase the appetite and promote the weight gain in our body. The idea is that artificial sweeteners may be unable to activate the food reward pathway needed to make you feel satisfied after you eat something. Like it not satisfies us that we have eaten this food and we are full now. So the fullness lacks there, and given that they taste sweet but it lacks the calories found in other sweet tasting foods, and they are thought to confuse the brain into still feeling hungry state. Like basically when you were consuming artificial sweeteners, you just having the taste but not the calories. Fullness lacks there and your brain confuses like no calories are there but only sweet taste is there. So lack of fullness is there. We feel hungry at that time and our body feels like our brains still think that the body is hungry or body is in the need of the food. Additionally, some scientists think that you need to eat more of an artificial sweetened food compared with sugar sweetened version to feel full. It's even been suggested that sweeteners may cause cravings for sugary foods because of that condition, calories condition. Many recent studies do not support the idea that artificial sweeteners increases the hunger and calorie intake in our body. In fact, several studies have found that participants report less hunger and consume fewer calories when they replace sugary foods with artificial sweetened beverages and foods as an alternative. So you can see the contradiction here. So basically the recent studies have shown that the replacing sugary foods with drinks, sugary foods or drinks with artificially sweetened drinks or foods may reduce the hunger and calorie intake in our body. It also affects on the weight. Like when we talk about the weight control, some observational studies report a link between consuming artificial sweetened beverages and obesity. Like these studies also show that replacing regular soft drinks with sugar-free versions can decrease the body mass index, that is BMI, by up to 1.3 to 1.7 points. And choosing artificially sweetened foods instead of those with added sugar may reduce the number of daily calories you consume. Artificially sweetened drinks can be an easy alternative for those who generally consume soft drinks and want to decrease their sugar consumption. Basically, replacing sugar containing foods and beverages with artificially sweetened ones may help us to lose some weight. And when we think diabetes, so in case of the diabetic patients, artificial sweeteners may benefit them as they offer a sweet taste but without accompanying the rise in the blood sugar levels. However, some studies report that drinking diet soda is associated with a 6 to 121% greater risk of developing diabetes in our human body. So this may seem contradictory, but it's important to note that all of these studies were observational. These are the only observational study. We have observed all these things. So observations may vary according to different types of people, according to different types of population that we study. So they didn't prove that artificial sweeteners cause diabetes. Only that people likely to develop type 2 diabetes also like to drink diet soda. On the other hand, many control studies show that artificial sweeteners do not affect blood sugar or insulin levels in our body. Only one small study in Hispanic women found a negative effect. Like women who drank artificially sweetened drink before consuming a sugary drink had 14% higher blood sugar levels and 20% higher insulin levels compared with those who drank water before consuming a sugary drink. So, drank water before consuming a sugary drink. So basically, when that woman drink the artificial sweetened beverage or anything, so it shows the certain rise in the blood sugar levels as well as insulin levels as compared to water intake before the sugary drink. So that's a major, like only a woman shown that effect. So it varies from participants to participants, and the participants that weren't used to drinking artificially sweetened drinks, which may partially explain the results. Like artificial sweeteners may have different effects depending on the people's age, their genetics as well as their background. Although the research results have not been so great, the current evidence is generally in favor of artificial sweetener that use among those with diabetes. We can use them in case of diabetic patients. Still more research is needed to evaluate the long-term effects in different populations. So the conclusion is that artificial sweeteners can help those with diabetes reduce their intake of sugar or reduce their intake of added sugar. However, much more research is needed on the effects of artificial sweeteners in various populations. The artificial sweeteners in case of metabolic syndrome. Like metabolic syndrome refers to the cluster of various different medical conditions such as high blood pressure, then high blood sugar, excess belly fat, abnormal cholesterol levels in human body. So these conditions increases our risk of chronic diseases such as stroke, heart diseases and type 2 diabetes. Some studies have suggested that diet soda drinkers could have up to 36% higher risk of metabolic syndrome, all these kinds of diseases. In fact, drinking water offers the same benefit as drinking the diet soda. So the conclusion about the metabolic syndrome is like artificial sweeteners are unlikely to increase your risk of metabolic syndrome. Replacing sugary drinks with artificially sweetened ones might decrease your risk of several medical conditions. Now the next is artificial sweeteners with respect to the gut health. Like our gut bacteria play an important role in our well-being, in our health, and a poor gut health is linked to numerous medical conditions or many complications in our body. So these include weight gain, poor blood sugar control, metabolic syndrome, weakened immune system and disrupted sleep cycles. The composition and function of gut bacteria vary by individual and are affected by what we eat, including certain artificial sweeteners also. In one study, it is found that the artificial sweetener saccharin disrupted the gut balance in 4 out of 7 healthy participants who were not used to consuming them, and the 4 responders also showed poor blood sugar controls after as few as 5 days after consuming the artificial sweeteners. And what's the move about all these things? Like when gut bacteria from these people were transferred into the mice, the animals also developed poor blood sugar control, and on the other hand, the mice implanted with the gut bacteria from the non-responders, those who have responded to that condition. So when we introduced that microbes or that gut bacteria into the mice, so they also develop poor blood sugar controls, and the non-responders, those who have not responded to artificial sweeteners after the 5 days period, they had no changes in their ability to control blood sugar levels. So it's interesting to note that. And artificial sweeteners may disturb the balance of the gut bacteria in some people, which could increase the risk of diseases. But however, more studies are yet to confirm this effect. All these things are in the research period. Research is continuously going on all these things. So the next is the artificial sweetener and the cancer. Since the 1970s, the debate about whether there is a link between the cancer and artificial sweeteners has raged a lot. It was ignited when animal studies found an increased risk of bladder cancer in mice fed extremely high with amounts of saccharin and cyclamate. However, the metabolic activities about the saccharin in the mice is a lot different from humans. Since then, more than 30 human studies have found no link between the artificial sweeteners and their risk of developing cancer. And one such study, followed by now 9,000 participants for 13 years, analyzed their artificial sweetener intake, After accounting for other factors, the researchers found no link between the artificial sweeteners and the risk of developing cancer or developing different types of cancers or bladder cancer. This topic was also evaluated by US and the European Union regulatory authorities, and both agreed that artificial sweeteners, and when consumed in recommended amounts, do not increase any kind of cancer risk. One such exception to this is cyclamen, which was banned in the United States in the 1970s because of the original mouse bladder cancer study, and it was published in 1970s. So on that year, the ban was taken place. Since then, the external studies in animals have failed to show a cancer link. However, the cyclamen was never reapproved for the use in the United States after 1970s. And based on the current evidences, if we talk about the current evidences, the artificial sweeteners are unlikely to cause the cancer risk in humans. The next is artificial sweeteners and the dental health. The dental cavity is also known as caries or tooth decay occur when bacteria in the mouth ferment the sugar. So when the excess fermentation of the sugar takes place, it converts into acid, and that acid can cause deleterious effect on our teeth. So tooth decay can occur there. So the foods which contains a lot of sugar, and when we use artificial sweeteners in case of that sugar, so the fermentation cannot take place of that artificial sweeteners, causing no production of acid in our mouth, so leading to no tooth decay. So basically, artificial sweeteners when consumed instead of sugar decrease the likelihood of teeth decay in our body. And there are some side effects, like some effects of this artificial sweeteners, bad effects on our human body. Like some artificial sweeteners may cause unpleasant symptoms such as headaches, depression, seizures in some individuals. While most studies find no link between aspartame and headaches, like aspartame, which is common artificial sweetener, so there is no link between headaches and aspartame or the use of aspartame. And the individual variability may also apply to aspartame's effect on depression. For instance, people with mood disorders may be more likely to experience depressive symptoms in response to aspartame consumption. And finally, the artificial sweeteners do not increase most people's seizure risk. However, one study reported increased brain activity in children with absence of seizures. The conclusion about the aspartame, seizures, depression is that the artificial sweeteners are unlikely to cause headaches, depressions or seizures. However, some individuals could be more sensitive to these effects than others. When we think about the safety and the side effects of the artificial sweeteners are generally considered to be safe for human consumption, and they are carefully tested and regulated by international authorities to make sure that they are safe to eat and drink. So now we will say that it is fully beneficial or fully good for our human body? No. There are some people who should avoid the intake of artificial sweeteners. For example, the individuals with the metabolic syndrome, metabolic disorder like phenylketonuria, PKU, cannot metabolize the amino acid phenylalanine, which is found in the aspartame, most common artificial sweetener, and the patients with PKU should avoid aspartame. Some people that are allergic to sulfonamides, the class of the compounds or to of which the saccharin belongs to this compound, and for them saccharin may lead to breathing difficulties, rashes and diarrhea. So additionally, growing evidences indicates certain artificial sweeteners like sucralose reduce the insulin sensitivity and affect the gut bacteria. So the artificial sweeteners are generally considered safe, but should be avoided by the people who have phenylketonuria and are allergic to sulfonamides. So the overall conclusion of this podcast is that the use of artificial sweetener possesses few risks and may even have benefits of weight loss, blood sugar control and dental health. So these sweeteners are especially beneficial if you use them to decrease the amount of added sugar in your diet in the name of sugar-free products. The likelihood of negative effects can vary by individual and depend on the type of the artificial sweeteners that you were consuming. Some people may feel bad or experience negative effects after consuming artificial sweeteners, even though they are safe and well tolerated by most of the people. So if you would like to avoid artificial sweeteners, then you can try using some of the natural sweeteners, and we are going to talk about it in our upcoming next podcast. And if you learned something new today, then please consider subscribe channel. Until next time, stay tuned, stay safe, stay healthy. See you soon in the next one. Bye bye.